Okay, today I'm going to share a point about a concept that we most of the time really have to say that, oh, I want to be happy, and if I were more happy, life will be more better. And the point is, you cannot handle positive energy if you cannot handle negative energy. And because, like I was saying earlier, we tend to say, oh, if only I was happy. But we tend to look for those energies that are positive, like joy, happiness, excitement, and contentment, and so on. And we tend to avoid then the energies that are bad, like stress, frustration, anger, anxiety, and so on. But the point is, if you cannot actually handle the negative energy, you're not going to be able to handle the positive energy, because even the positive energy that you are actually looking for, first of all, you have to ask yourself, when you feel happy, you have to ask yourself, why am I happy? Because if you actually understand how emotions are built inside of your body, and your emotions come from your programming, which comes from your vocabulary, and if you actually understand that, you will see and understand that how whatever you are feeling right now, it's from your programming. And whoever has programmed you in a way that if certain things are done, then you are going to feel in a certain way, either happy or not happy. And to actually now sitting around wanting and looking for those emotions, positive emotions, and wanting to avoid the negative emotions, it in itself would not actually make you happy, because the world is an extremely negative place right now. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, because we have now so many people actually sharing, talking about how everything is love, everything is light, but not actually seeing things the way they are. That right now the world is 99, if not 100%, a negative place that we are in right now. And to actually not see that and actually hide ourselves behind the fact that we are wanting to feel in a certain way, just being concerned with the feeling of happiness in itself, that will lead you to a place where you will not actually be happy to be there. Because, like I was explaining earlier, your emotions are, every time that you have an emotion, you have had a thought. Because for you to feel something, there is a thought that went on, and most of the time you're not aware of it. That's why you never pay attention, or you never realize what triggered that emotion. But if you're not able to actually localize that thought, so that you can know where that comes from, so that you can understand why you are feeling the way you are feeling, then it's not going to be possible for you to actually do anything about it. Because everything, even when you want to change something, the first step is always awareness, self-awareness. You have to become aware of the problem. But the problem is that you are not aware of your thought anymore, because your brain has been frozen. You are not actually aware of your person, because you have been spending all of your time in your mind. You're not in your physical body, so you do not pay attention to those things, because you are lost in your mind. But if you do not become actually aware of who you are, then you will never actually be able to see those thoughts that are actually triggering those emotions that you are feeling. And your brain has unfortunately been frozen. And I talk here about how to actually get back to who you are, how to actually get back to those thoughts, how to actually reactivate that natural learning ability using TechnoTutor, so that you can actually become self-aware again. Because if you do not become self-aware, you don't have a chance to actually change who you are. It's not possible. So as I was explaining, you have this chain of things, and the first part of it is your emotions. So like I was explaining earlier, for you to have an emotion, you have had a thought, either conscious or unconscious. You may not be aware of it, but there was a thought behind it. If you can't find it, okay, you will never actually change the thing, but you have to understand that there was a thought behind it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had the emotion in the first place. And your thinking actually comes from your beliefs. What you believe creates how you think. That's, if, for example, you believe that you cannot do something, then over time you're still going to have thoughts that actually reinforce that actually show you that actually, yes, that's true, I can do this. But that's because you have that belief in the first place. And then the thought that you are then having around that point is just coming from that belief that you are holding inside of you. And from your beliefs then comes from your programming. So your programming are the building blocks that are put together to actually create your belief systems. And there's a big difference in between your programming and your belief systems. And the building blocks that actually create your programmings are your vocabularies. That's why we talk here all the time about vocabulary, because those are the building blocks of who you are as a human being. This is the key point, man. Like, if you do not get this one, you're gonna wander around for a long time and actually not getting this point, and you're not going to move forward. So as I was explaining earlier, if you cannot handle negative emotions, you won't be able to handle positive emotions. Because I was talking with another lady today, and she was sharing about in the video that she has seen that I made with Margot, and she was asking that, but she said that they never argue, like they never have an argument. I was like, no, that's not what she said. What she was actually saying is that they do not fight on an emotional basis, because nowadays people just fight on an emotional basis and they never actually understand each other. But what Margot was saying is that because they have been using TechnoTutor for so long, they do not argue on an emotional basic. They have arguments, but they sit and talk. They say, okay, you said this and I said this. What are your arguments? What are my arguments? And whoever has the best argument, then that's how we do it. That's what she was explaining, because nowadays people can't even talk. Because also something that you have to understand when it comes to emotions, specifically when you're just concerned about actually feeling in a certain way, specifically feeling good, is that the way you've been programmed, there are certain words or certain ways that when somebody say those words or when somebody acts in a certain way, it's going to make you feel in a certain way. And which is actually very interesting, because last week I was watching a documentary, The Century of the Self, and that's where they showed how society has been programmed to consume stuff, because they have been taught and programmed that by buying stuff, by consuming stuff, those are going to make you happy, or they are going to make you feel in a certain way. That's also why we act in this society in a certain way. That's also why we dress in a certain way, because we are just wanting to get that feeling of a certain thing. And that's also what's going to really drive you to your eternal damnation, because you're just following something that you don't even understand how it has been programmed inside of you in the first place. So the point is, coming back to the emotions, that you have to be able to handle the negative emotions, otherwise you will never be able to handle the positive emotion. That boils down to emotional stability. Emotional stability is you being able to behave the way you should behave regardless of how you're feeling. That's what emotional stability is. Emotional stability is not you not feeling emotions. You're always going to feel emotions, but how are you behaving, or who are you in those moments where you are having those emotions? How do you behave? Because of like talking about this even make me realize something, is because like we say we want to do X because we want to be in that position where we are so happy and we are feeling joy and so on. But at the same time, it's like everything is like you always have the positive and the negative energy. And what I see most of the time is that we want to avoid the negative as much as possible. We do not want to face them. We do not want to confront them, because for whatever reason that you have of not actually facing those points, we just want positive energy. And the downsides with that is the more you focus on the positive energy, you are building up the negative energy, because like I was explaining earlier, the world is an extremely negative place, if not 100% negative. And if you are just concerning yourself with looking for positive energy, you are already doing it in the wrong way, because you are surrounded by negative energy. And the point here is to actually be master of your emotions so that they do not control you anymore, and also to actually use what's here. We have a lot of negative energy here in this world, regardless of how much people are talking about we have love and light. It's the opposite. We have so many shit going on in the world. So how about just being here, taking what we have here, which are all the negative, and actually being stable within that, so that we can actually create something that we want within emotional stability. Because the emotional stability is what's going to make you move forward. Without emotional stability, you cannot have discipline. And this is a key component to anything that you're wanting to do. If you cannot discipline yourself to get something done that you said you will do, you have zero chance, regardless of how positive you feel. Because also something that I've realized for myself is this, like, until I adopt this mental model, until I actually understand that, oh, I have to discipline myself regardless of how I feel, is that sometimes when I will feel extremely positive because something happened, or because I've hit a milestone, or because I've hit a goal, I will just become lazy. I will just say, yeah, everything's fine, just chill out. And that's when I realized that, oh, that's actually screwing me over. That's actually stopping me from moving forward. That's actually stopping me, because when you actually get to that energy, a lot of people just become lazy, because hey, everything's fine, just chill out, and so on. But you have to become the person that, regardless of, even if you are extremely in joy and so on, you can still direct yourself to do what you want to do. The same thing as when you're going through like the bad negative emotions, you still have to direct yourself so that you can actually do what is it that you want to do. And that's also why what we talk about here comes in, like TechnoTutor, self-perfected, join the community and do the self-forgiveness, so that you can always, at any moment, be stable and have the direct control of yourself, so that you can actually get to become who you want to become, instead of being an organic robot, which is what you are right now. Because I can trigger you with some words. I can just say some words and you're going to react in a certain way. That's what it means to be a robot. That's why we have to become emotionally stable, so that we can handle any kind of energy, either positive or either negative, because at the bottom line, that's just energy, and your mind lives on energy. As long as you're having energy, your mind is fine. It will not complain. That's why you see, when you're sad, you never want to get out of it. The same as when you're happy, you do not want to get out of it. You just want to keep on sucking that energy. That's what your mind is using to trap you. That's what your mind is using to feed itself off of it. So that's why we have to get out of it, become emotional stable.